This is a copyrighted audiobook production of Music, Silence, and Noise, authored by Mohammed Saad Riaz. All rights reserved.
Music, Silence, and Noise. Section 2. Decrescendo, the orchid kind. The orchid hypothesis. There's zero correlation between being the best talker and having the best ideas. Susan Cain. David Dobbs, in a 2012 article, offered a revolutionary theory he calls the orchid hypothesis. The theory suggests that many of us are adaptable just like hardy dandelions and can survive in almost any environment. However, a few of us are like orchids, fickle and fragile, but can bloom spectacularly if the right conditions are available. Any attempt to demand dandelion resilience in inappropriate conditions will only harm your students. With an unsuitable environment, the orchid children can end up stressed, confused, and depressed. But, in a caring environment, they can grow up to be society's successful, happy, and most creative people. The orchid hypothesis takes this discussion further from nature or nurture to a combined nature and nurture. Years of research have identified gene variants that can increase a person's susceptibility to depression, anxiety, attention deficiency disorder, and other problems if the person carrying the genes suffers a troubled childhood. Genes don't destine someone to complex behaviors, but when students with certain genes are ill-treated, they're more prone to emotional imbalance. Similarly, heightened genetic sensitivity can also enhance positive abilities. Most of the understanding of psychology is focused on vulnerabilities and overlooks the upside. Put simply, we focus on what's wrong, rather than appreciating the possibilities of veiled goodness too. Orchid children, due to their sensitive nature, are more strongly affected by all experiences, be it positive or negative. This hypothesis is a transformative view of looking at the decrescendo students. Not only it identifies the nature-nurture problem, but it also emphasizes that these troublesome genes are equally important in our species. These genes provide the flexibility crucial for the success of human species. Otherwise, these genes would have been selected out. According to Charles Darwin's theory of natural selection, gene mutations that are harmful or adverse are less likely to survive and are eliminated through a process of natural selection. Your classroom culture is pivotal for these orchid students. Otherwise, they are susceptible to developing social anxiety disorders or acute shyness. On the upside, their sensitivities, when out in the right classroom setting, can enhance their social skills, and in turn, they will become more empathetic, caring, and cooperative than their peers. Your typical behavior should be able to read their cues and respect their individuality, be assertive and warm. You need to help them to accept their limitations and focus on their strengths. You must not be harsh, hostile, or neglectful, otherwise they will wilt. In addition to their inborn temperaments, you should also help the orchid children to withstand adversity by being patient and flexible. Hector Bolitho wrote about the earliest photographs of Muhammad Ali Jinnah. Picture him as a tall, skinny boy with high cheekbones, walking in the narrow streets, going to Sindh Madrasa High School. If that 11-years-old introvert boy, well-tuned with his own emotions, was in your classroom, would you be able to appreciate his unconventional perspectives of the world? What value would you add to his extremely imaginative and idealistic thoughts? How would you make this introvert boy realize the power of quiet? How would you get him ready to hold podiums and spark revolutions? To understand the decrescendo quadrant on my harmony model, I want to refer to an international bestseller book, The Highly Sensitive Person, HSP, How to Thrive When the World Overwhelms You, by Dr. Elaine Aron. She defines and explores this distinct personality group. If your classroom is an ideal sample, you will have 1 out of every 5 students displaying HSP traits. According to Dr. Aaron's definition, these students have a sensitive nervous system and are more easily overwhelmed when in a highly stimulating environment, such as a regular classroom, and they are hyper-aware of any subtleties in their surroundings. The problem with behavior psychology studies is that it tries to observe displayed behaviors, and HSP's inner self cannot be easily examined. Unlike extroverts, who can often be found laughing, talking, or wigwagging, introverts mostly try to fade away from the scene. It is easy to attribute reasons to a quiet person's social isolation, but it is not easy to read what's going on inside their minds. Yet, there is a lot of orchestration and music going on inside there, even if it can't be heard. So, what music is playing inside these students? Why aren't they, and it's visible, delighted about most of the things happening in the classroom? Dr. Aaron started her study on introverts through interviews and surveys. She identified people having 27 distinct attributes as highly sensitive. Previous studies have classified most of these attributes as negative behavior. For example, an HSP might be seen as being scared of taking risks, and a risk-averse behavior is considered unattractive. Dr. Aaron explores that highly sensitive individuals are keen observers. Their kind-heartedness brightens the lives of those around them. Their vivid imagination sparks ideas that help the world to grow. Their creativity is invaluable. They think a great deal before making a decision, and this makes them cautious and wiser. They may have limited surprises in their lives, and they may try to follow a pattern. However, quiet introverts have such key powers as persistence and concentration, too. She also studied that this group has difficulty when being observed. What happened to Umair in the pizza shop is a good example of this fact. Or when judged for merits, for example when my spouse's dad interviewed me before our marriage. What I found more important in her study are the new insights that she presented. An HSP tends to be more religious or philosophical. They may not engage in small talk, but have an intuition to dive deep into thinking. Studying her data verifies that students in the Decrescendo quadrant have a strong creative side. They appreciate art, music, and aesthetics. Their emotions tend to be extreme, be it joy, sorrow, or fear. Things around them can impact them emotionally more than physically. They can be great listeners and can sense subtleties of the shifting moods of others better than many extroverts can. Going back to Umair, talking to Shahid about him made him embarrassed at first his son as a sensitive introvert. But he also wanted to make sure that his boy didn't grow up shy.
If you appreciate the ideas presented in this audiobook, please share it with your friends and family. Also, please subscribe to the channel and leave a comment. This will help the author to monetize this production. Thank you for your token of appreciation.